The twin suns were setting behind the red hills of planet Borealis, painting the forest in shades of gold and violet. The wind hummed through the crystal leaves and the ground glowed softly under each step. Deep inside that glowing forest walked a small human girl named Lyra. Her boots were dusty, her dress torn, but her eyes still held a quiet light, the kind of light only a pure heart carries. She had wandered too far from her family's camp. They were explorers sent to study this alien world, but curiosity had always been stronger than caution in Lyra's heart. She followed the faint glow of blue flowers deeper into the woods, humming a small tune, unaware that something huge was watching her. From the shadows between the trees, a shape moved, silent and enormous. Its silver fur shimmered like liquid steel, and its 6 eyes reflected the setting suns. It was an Arkan wolf, one of the most feared predators on the planet. Stories said even soldiers avoided them. They hunted in silence, and their roar could shatter stone. Lyra stopped suddenly. The air felt heavy. The forest went still, no hums, no rustles. She turned, her small hands gripping her scanner. Then out of the glowing fog it appeared. The Arkan wolf stood tall as a hover jeep, muscles rippling under metallic fur. Its breath came out in short, pained bursts. Lyra froze. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. The beast's fangs glistened, sharp as knives. Every instinct screamed run. But something in its eyes stopped her. Not rage, not hunger, but pain. The creature's nose twitched violently, and it let out a muffled growl that sounded more like a cry. Then she saw it. A thick black thorn was stuck deep in the soft tissue of its left nostril. The flesh around it was swollen and bleeding dark blue. Each time the wolf breathed, it winced in pain. Lyra's fear melted into pity. "You're hurt," she whispered softly, her voice trembling. The alien predator tilted its head as if confused by her tone. She took one careful step forward. The wolf growled and low in warning him, but didn't move away. Lyra stopped again. Her voice came out quiet but calm. I just want to help you." Her tiny hands trembled as she reached into her pocket and pulled out her small med kit, a basic human field tool. The wolf's eyes followed her every motion. The distance between them was no more than 5 meters now. If it wanted to, it could end her life in a second. But it didn't. It just stood there, breathing hard, watching. Lyra took a slow step closer, her boots sinking into glowing moss. "Please," she whispered, "I can fix it." It must hurt so much the predator let out a deep growl that shook the air. Its chest rose and fell with a hiss. But when Lyra stopped walking, it lowered its head just slightly, almost like a signal. She swallowed her fear and approached. Her hands were sweating, her heart racing faster than ever. The air was thick with tension. Each second stretched like forever. She could see the thorn now, thick, jagged, glowing faintly with alien spores. It must have been from the venomous trees nearby. The pain must have been unbearable. "Okay," she whispered to herself. "Just one quick pull." She raised her hand slowly, showing the creature the small metal tweezer from her med kit. "Don't move, please." For a long moment, neither of them breathed. Then, as if understanding her words, the Arkan wolf went still. Lyra took a deep breath and stepped close enough to feel the heat of its breath. She smelled metal and ozone. Her small hand touched its muzzle, trembling, gentle. The wolf didn't flinch. "Good boy," she whispered, and with one firm tug she pulled the thorn free. The wolf let out a deafening roar, not of anger, but release. It echoed through the forest, shaking leaves off the trees. Lyra stumbled back, falling to her knees, clutching the thorn. The blue blood stopped flowing, the wound already beginning to close under the alien's fast healing. When the echoes faded, silence returned. Lyra looked up, terrified the beast might attack. Instead, the enormous creature lowered itself slowly until its head was level with hers. Its 6 eyes glowed softly in the dark, and then it bowed. Lyra gasped. The most feared predator of Borealis was bowing to a small human child. The Arkan wolf's massive head touched the ground before her feet, a sign of submission, of gratitude. Then gently, it brushed its snout against her shoulder, leaving a faint mark of blue light. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "You're welcome," she whispered, smiling through the fear and wonder. For a moment, they stayed like that, a child and a monster, silent under the twin suns. Then, as quickly as it came, the beast turned and vanished into the glowing trees, leaving a trail of blue footprints that shimmered like stars. Lyra stood there, breathless and trembling. She looked down at the thorn in her hand. It pulsed faintly with alien light. She didn't know it yet, but this single act of kindness would soon change the fate of her entire colony. The night came quickly on planet Orialis. 2 moons rose over the silver trees, lighting the forest in ghostly blue. The wind carried a strange low hum, the kind of sound that made every creature stay inside their nests. In the small human colony camp, lights flickered inside metal tents. Scientists whispered. Guards walked with plasma rifles and children huddled near warm lamps. Among them sat Lyra, her mind still full of what had happened that evening. She had told no one about the Arkan wolf. No one would believe her. A tiny girl saying she helped the most feared predator on the planet? Her father would think it was a dream. But deep in her heart she knew it was real. The touch of that glowing blue muzzle on her shoulder still felt warm. She held the thorn in her hand. It still shimmered faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "I hope you're okay out there," she whispered, looking through the tent window at the dark forest. Suddenly, a loud alarm screamed through the camp. Wah, wah, wah! The ground trembled. Dishes fell from the tables. The guards outside shouted orders. Movement detected. North perimeter. Multiple heat signatures, big ones. Lyra froze. Her heart dropped. She ran to the window, and what she saw made her breath stop. Shapes were moving beyond the lights of the fence. Dozens of glowing eyes, 6 at a time. Shadows with tails, claws, and fur that glimmered like molten metal. The Arkan wolves had returned. Soldiers rushed to the walls, rifles up. Spotlights cut across the trees, catching glimpses of the beasts' silver bodies. Some wolves were the size of trucks, others smaller but faster, circling like living ghosts. "Open fire if they breach the line," shouted Commander Reth, a tall man with a scar on his jaw. Lyra ran out of her tent. "No, don't shoot them," she cried, but her small voice was lost under the panic. The wolves stopped just at the edge of the barrier, a blue energy wall that hummed between the humans and the forest. They stood there silent, their glowing eyes staring straight at the camp. Then one of them stepped forward. It was him, the same wounded wolf. Lyra recognized the faint scar near his nostril, the mark of where she had pulled the thorn. Her heart pounded with both fear and awe. The massive creature approached the barrier slowly. The soldiers aimed their rifles. The wolf stopped a few meters away and lowered his head again. Bowing just like before, everyone froze. What is it doing?" one of the guards whispered. "I don't know," Commander Reth muttered. "They never behave like this." Lyra didn't wait for permission. She ducked under the railing and ran toward the barrier. "Lyra!" her father shouted, running after her. "Get back here!" But she didn't stop. She reached the edge of the energy field, only a meter away from the giant predator. The air buzzed between them like static. The wolf's 6 eyes focused on her, glowing with recognition. Lyra raised her hand and held up the black thorn. "You remember me?" she whispered softly. The wolf gave a deep, rumbling growl, not threatening but almost gentle. Then it turned and looked back at the pack. The others moved aside. From the shadows, smaller shapes appeared, cubs, 3 of them, carrying something in their jaws. They stepped forward and dropped it near the barrier. A pile of crystals, glowing bright blue, alien energy stones, rare and powerful, more valuable than any human fuel. The scientists gasped. "That's pure Oriolite," one of them shouted. "Each of those could power a ship." The wolves had brought a gift. Lyra's father stared in disbelief. They're offering it." Lyra nodded, eyes wide. "They're saying thank you." Commander Reth lowered his rifle slowly. The wolves stood still, waiting. No one dared move. Then the big one, the one Lyra had healed, stepped closer, pressing its snout gently against the barrier. The energy field shimmered but didn't spark. It was almost as if the creature was trying to reach her again. Lyra placed her tiny hand on the glowing blue light between them. "You're welcome," she said quietly. And then something unbelievable happened. The barrier stopped buzzing. The alien energy that powered it flickered, and then, for a brief second, turned blue. The wolves stepped back into the forest and vanished, leaving the gift behind. The barrier stabilized again, glowing its usual green. Everyone stood there in complete silence. Commander Reth finally spoke. "They didn't attack." "No," Lyra said softly. "They came to say thank you." Her father knelt beside her, still stunned. "Lyra, what did you do?" She looked up at him with a small smile. "I pulled out a thorn." He blinked, not understanding. But deep inside, some part of him began to realize maybe the humans weren't alone as enemies on this world. That night, under the twin moons, the camp stayed quiet. The glowing crystals the wolves left behind pulsed softly like hearts, casting blue light over everything. It felt peaceful, almost sacred. But far away in the forest, unseen eyes were watching. Not all creatures of Borealis believed in peace. Some saw the wolves act as betrayal, and the human girl's compassion as a threat. The true story was only beginning. 3 nights passed after the wolves left their gift. The human camp was calm again, but something in the air had changed. The forest was quiet in a new way, as if it was watching. Lyra spent most of her time near the fence, looking toward the trees and waiting for her silver fur friend to return. She kept the thorn close, hanging it around her neck with a thin wire. The strange light inside it still pulsed softly like a tiny heart beating. One evening, while the scientists were busy studying the crystals, Lyra saw something glow at the edge of the forest. Not blue this time, but green, faint and misty. Shapes moved between the trees, tall, thin, and floating a few inches above the ground. They looked like shadows wrapped in light. A soft voice echoed inside her mind. "Human child, your hand has touched what must not be touched." Lyra gasped and stepped back. No one else seemed to hear it. The guard stood still, unaware. She looked around and saw no speaker, just the light in the woods. "Who's there?" she whispered. The green glow drifted closer and took shape, a figure with a long face and eyes like molten emeralds. Its voice was calm but cold. "We are the keepers of balance. The wolves serve our law. You have broken it." Lyra's knees shook. I only helped one that was hurt." "By helping him," the spirit said, "you changed his heart. A beast that bows to a human is a beast that defies its order. Now the forest turns against itself." Before Lyra could answer, the light faded. A cold wind swept through the camp, snuffing out lamps and sending a shiver through every soul. That night, storms rolled over Borealis. Lightning turned the skies white. When morning came, the scouts returned with terrible news. 3 wolves had been found dead near the river. No sign of human weapons, no fight marks, and only burned scars that glowed green. Commander Reth called a meeting. "This isn't natural," he said grimly. "Something's hunting them, and it's coming closer to us." Lyra sat quietly in the corner. She knew what it was. The spirits had warned her, and they were angry. That evening, she went back to the fence. The forest was dark, silent, and sad. Then a pair of blue eyes appeared between the trees. The Arkan wolf and her friend limped into the light. Its fur was burned in places, and its breathing was ragged. Hey, you're hurt again," Lyra cried, running closer. The wolf stopped right at the barrier. It didn't growl. It looked tired, and its eyes were full of something she had never seen in an animal. Fear. Behind the wolf, the shadows moved. Green flames drifted through the air like angry ghosts. The spirits were hunting it. Without thinking, Lyra slammed her hand on the control panel and lowered the barrier. "Lyra, no," her father shouted from behind her, but it was too late. The blue wolf stumbled inside the camp, collapsing near the lampposts. Guards raised their guns, but Lyra threw her arms wide. "Don't shoot. It's hurt, please." The wolf lifted its head weakly and let out a low whine that echoed like music. And then the green spirits appeared beyond the barrier, hovering like ghosts of the forest. Their voices boomed inside every human mind. "You protect the cursed one. Then you share its fate." Energy crackled in the air. Machines shut down. Every screen in the camp flickered with green symbols no one could read. The forest itself seemed alive, branches moving like hands. Lyra fell to her knees beside the wolf, crying. "Why are they doing this? You did nothing wrong." The wolf slowly raised its head, its eyes meeting hers. A deep, soft thought echoed in her mind, and not words, but a feeling. "You showed mercy. They fear change." Lyra understood then. The forest spirits ruled through fear and tradition. They kept every creature in its place, but her simple act of kindness had broken that chain, and now both she and the wolf were paying the price. Her father and the commander grabbed her, pulling her back as energy flames crashed against the barrier. The camp's lights exploded in a storm of sparks. "Get her to the ship," Reth shouted. The wolf struggled to stand. It looked at Lyra and then toward the forest. If it stayed, the spirits would destroy the humans too. So it let out a howl, a deep, mournful cry that made the trees shake, and then leapt over the barrier, charging back into the dark to draw the spirits away. "No!" Lyra screamed, reaching out, but her father held her tight. The wolf vanished into the flaming green forest. Seconds later, a burst of light flashed so bright that it turned night into day. Then everything was quiet again. Only the thorn around Lyra's neck still glowed blue. Faint. Weak. Alive. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "I'll find you." The humans didn't know it yet, but Lyra's words had just promised the first alliance between human and alien life on Aurealis, a bond that would be tested by fire and spirit both. 3 days passed since the green storm. The forest still smelled of burned ozone, and the camp remained in silence. No signals worked, no machines restarted. The humans were cut off from their ships and from hope. But Lyra could think of only one thing: the blue wolf. Every night she dreamed of its eyes calling her, echoing in the dark. "Lyra, help me." She woke up crying, her small hands clutching the thorn around her neck. It still glowed softly like a pulse in the darkness. Commander Reth ordered everyone to stay inside the camp perimeter. But Lyra had already made her decision. That night, under the light of the twin moons, she packed a small bag, a water can, a light rod, and a medical kit, and slipped quietly through the gate. The forest was silent again, but not peaceful. The trees whispered soft words she did not understand. Blue mist floated near the ground. Each step she took made the ground hum, as if the planet itself was alive and watching. Lyra followed the trail of blueprints the wolf had left before the explosion. They were faint now, but they still glowed just enough for her to see. After an hour of walking, she reached a place where the trees grew in a circle around a deep valley. The air there was thick and cold. She looked down and saw them, the forest spirits. Dozens of them floated around the valley, shining green like liquid fire. And in the center lay the Arkan wolf, motionless, chained by roots made of light. Its fur had lost its silver shine. It was breathing weakly. Lyra's heart broke. She wanted to run to it, but the spirits formed a wall between them. The same calm, cold voice spoke in her mind. "You return alone, small one, why?" Lyra took a step forward, fear burning in her chest. "I came to help him again." "You humans never learn," the spirit said. "Your kind takes and changes. The wolves were ours, obedient, pure. You filled this one's heart with mercy. Now he refuses to hunt, refuses to kill. He has become weak." Lyra shook her head. "That's not weak. That's strong." The spirits murmured like a storm of angry winds. "Compassion is a disease here." Lyra raised the thorn from her neck. Its blue light flared brighter than before. "He gave me this light when I helped him. He did nothing wrong. You hurt him because he chose to be kind." The forest shook with their anger, but she didn't back down. Her voice was small, but it echoed through the valley. "On my world, we teach children that helping someone in pain is never wrong. If your law says it is, then your law is broken." The spirits moved closer, forming a ring around her. Their light flickered like angry fireflies. One of them touched her shoulder. It felt like ice and lightning together. Her knees gave out, but she kept holding the thorn. The wolf opened its eyes weakly and let out a soft whine. Its thoughts reached her again. "Lyra, leave." "Danger, no," she said, standing up again. "I won't leave you." She looked at the spirits. "If you hate humans so much, then hurt me, not him. But you can't stop what's already started. He knows mercy now, and mercy spreads." Her words seemed to strike them like a wave. The green light around the wolf's chains flickered. The thorn in her hand shone brighter and brighter until the valley was bathed in blue light. The spirit screamed, not with pain, but with fear. "The human heart is awakening the planet." The ground trembled. Roots burst from the earth, twisting and glowing blue instead of green. They wrapped around the wolf's chains and shattered them with a crack that echoed for miles. The wolf leapt to its feet, howling so loud that the mountains answered. Blue flames spread across the trees, pushing back the green glow. The spirits retreated into the mist, their voices fading. "This will not end with you, child." Then they were gone. Lyra stumbled forward, tears on her cheeks. She placed her hand on the wolf's nose. It was warm again, alive again. "You came back," she whispered. The wolf lowered its head to her and let her hug its snout. For a moment, the whole forest glowed blue, as if the planet itself was breathing with them. But when Lyra looked up, She saw something new on the horizon, a dark storm rising from the north full of green fire and metallic shapes. The spirits were not done. They were calling something stronger. The wolf turned its head toward the camp and growled softly. Lyra understood without words. They had to warn the humans before the storm reached them. Together, a tiny human girl and an alien wolf began to run through the forest of blue light side by side, leaving behind the ruins of old laws and the echo of something new being born. Trust. The night sky over planet Orialis burned green. Lightning crawled across the clouds like living veins. The ground shook as if the planet itself were afraid. Inside the human camp, alarms blared again, red lights flashing through the metal corridors. Commander Reth stood on the watchtower, eyes wide. Above the forest, huge glowing forms moved through the storm, shapes made of smoke, light, and fury. The forest spirits were no longer hiding. They were coming. Everyone inside the shelters, he shouted. Power up the cannons. But the soldiers hesitated. The energy systems were still dead. Nothing responded. The whole camp was powerless. Then out of the glowing forest, two shapes appeared through the rain, one small, one huge. Open the gate, a voice cried. The commander looked down and gasped. It was Lyra, drenched and muddy, running beside the enormous silver-furred wolf. Its eyes blazed bright blue, lighting the storm around them. Let her in, her father shouted. The gate doors opened with a hiss and Lyra stumbled inside, the wolf behind her like a living wall of muscle and light. Close it, Reth barked. The doors sealed just as a bolt of green fire struck the fence, exploding against the barrier. Lyra coughed and pointed toward the sky. They're coming. The spirits, they're angry. Reth looked at the wolf, tense, hand on his weapon. That thing, it saved me, Lyra said firmly. And now it's here to save us. For a moment, no one spoke. The wolf bowed its head slightly, rain sliding down its silver fur. The commander slowly lowered his weapon. All right, little one, he said. What do we do? Lyra turned to the creature. Show us. The wolf's 6 eyes flashed and a deep hum filled the air. The blue mark on Lyra's shoulder, the one it had left when she first pulled the thorn, glowed in answer. Instantly, the camp's dead power systems flickered back to life. Every light turned blue. Machines hummed, the barrier walls flared stronger than ever. What in the stars? One engineer gasped. It's linking with our systems. The wolf growled, looking toward the sky. The storm was breaking open. Green shapes, half spirit, half machine, descended like falling comets. Each one landed in the forest with a blast of light. Spirits. Merged with drones, Reth muttered. They've taken control of our tech. The ground split. Out came tall, twisted figures of metal and vines. The keepers of balance had given themselves bodies. Lyra's voice shook but didn't break. They want to erase us all. They think compassion broke their law. Reth clenched his jaw. Then we make a new law tonight, together. The wolves appeared again from the forest, dozens, then hundreds. They formed a glowing blue line behind the silver alpha. On the other side of the barrier stood the humans, scared but ready. For a long heartbeat, the two species faced each other. Then Lyra stepped forward between them and raised her voice through the thunder. No more fear. No more hate. We stand together. The wolf howled, an echo that made the clouds themselves shake. The barrier doors opened, and for the first time in history, humans and alien beasts charged as one. The battle was chaos. Green fire met blue light, claws struck metal. Laser bursts filled the sky. The spirits screamed through the machines, trying to twist the wolves' minds, but the thorn on Lyra's neck glowed brighter, pushing them back. Wherever she ran, blue light followed, healing, calming, protecting. One spirit machine tried to grab her. The wolf leapt between them, smashing it apart with a single bite, sparks flying. Its fur burned, but it didn't stop. It guarded her like a living wall. Reth fired his rifle beside them, shouting, "Keep close to the girl. She's the key." Hours felt like minutes. The storm began to weaken. One by one, the spirits broke apart under the combined power of the wolves and the humans. The sky slowly turned from green to blue. Finally, only one spirit remained, the same one that had spoken to Lyra before. It floated above the battlefield, wounded and fading. Why? Did you fight for them? It whispered to the wolf. You were a predator. The wolf looked at Lyra and then back at the spirit. Its voice filled every mind nearby. Because she healed me when no one else would. The spirit trembled. And what did she give you? The wolf's eyes softened. A reason to protect, not destroy. With that, it released a final burst of blue light that scattered the storm clouds completely. The green glow vanished. Silence returned. The humans stared around, breathing hard. The wolves stood still, their heads lowered. The forest was quiet again, peaceful, as if nothing had happened. Lyra walked up to the wolf, placed her small hand on its muzzle and whispered, "We did it." The creature bowed once more, then looked toward the sunrise. Two suns climbing over the horizon together, blue and gold. Commander Reth approached and knelt beside Lyra. "You've done more than anyone on this planet, kid. You reminded us why we came here, not to conquer but to understand." Lyra smiled softly. "He just needed someone to pull the thorn." The commander nodded. "Sometimes the smallest act changes everything." As the sun rose higher, humans and wolves stood side by side among the broken machines, watching the new light spread across Aurealis. It was not just dawn, it was the beginning of peace. The storm was gone. Only the smell of wet soil and faint blue smoke lingered in the air. The twin suns of Aurealis rose slowly over the horizon, spreading light across the broken battlefield. Where green fire had burned, now blue grass began to grow again. Thin, soft, alive. Lyra sat on a fallen log beside her silver-furred friend. The wolf's breathing was slow but steady. Its fur still carried scars, glowing faintly with lines of blue light. She reached out and brushed her hand through its thick mane. "You're going to be okay," she whispered. The wolf's eyes blinked softly and a quiet thought brushed her mind. "Because you believed so." Behind them, the human camp was busy with repairs. The soldiers who had once feared the wolves now walked among them without weapons. Wolves carried broken metal beams in their jaws, dragging them away from the damaged walls. Humans patched the energy towers, sharing food and water with their alien allies. Commander Reth watched them all with a half-smile. "Never thought I'd see this," he muttered. Humans and wolves rebuilding together. Lyra's father, wiping grease from his hands, nodded. "Maybe this planet's not as wild as we thought. Maybe it was just waiting for someone to listen." Near the medical tent, one of the younger wolves was lying with a wounded leg. A human medic knelt beside it, wrapping a band around the limb. The wolf didn't resist. It simply stared with calm eyes. The same calm the Silver Alpha had shown when Lyra helped it days ago. Word spread across the camp that the wolves had started leaving blue crystals outside each tent. Small, heart-shaped pieces of energy stone. Scientists discovered that those crystals could heal minor cuts and power small machines. They called them tears of trust. One night, while everyone rested, Lyra stood at the edge of the camp looking at the stars. The wolf came beside her, silent as always. Together they watched the twin moons rise. "Do you think the spirits are gone?" she asked quietly. The wolf tilted its head. "Not gone, changed. They now sleep inside the roots." She nodded slowly. "Then maybe they'll learn too." For a while they said nothing. The wind carried the scent of rain and soil, and the forest hummed with gentle life again. The pain, the fear, the battle, all of it felt far away now. Commander Reth approached, holding a metal tablet. "Lyra," he said softly, "we're writing a new treaty tonight, one that will mark this day forever. We'd like you to sign it first." She blinked in surprise. "Me? But I'm just a kid," Reth smiled. "Maybe. But you're the kid who taught us all something adults forgot." He placed the tablet in her hands. It read, "Treaty of Aurealis between the human explorers of Earth and the Archon wolves of Aurealis. To live without fear, to heal instead of harm, to share the light of both hearts, blue and red, for all time." Lyra's small finger pressed her name onto the glowing surface. The wolf beside her lowered its head and placed its paw next to the signature. The tablet shimmered blue, sealing the bond. A soft cheer rose from the camp. Humans clapped. Wolves howled. For the first time in Aurealis history, the sound of joy echoed through the alien forest. Later, when night returned, Lyra sat beside the wolf under the starlight. "I used to think being small meant I couldn't change anything," she said quietly. "But now I know even a small person can make a big difference, and if their heart is kind." The wolf's tail moved once in the dust. "You did more than change a life," it said. "You changed a world." The thorn around her neck flickered once more, then finally dimmed. Its purpose was complete. The wind whispered through the silver leaves, carrying the last words of the spirits that once ruled the forest. Balance is not broken when mercy blooms. Lyra smiled, closing her eyes. For the first time since landing on this world, she felt safe. Not because walls protected her, but because understanding did. The wolf lay down beside her, curling its tail around her like a blanket. As she drifted into sleep, she whispered the words she would someday teach to every child born under the twin suns of Borealis. Kindness is the strongest force in the universe. Years passed on planet Borealis. The blue forests grew tall again, and the winds that once carried cries of war now sang songs of peace. Humans and Arkan wolves lived side by side, building, hunting, and dreaming together. The little human girl who once pulled a thorn had grown tall. Lyra was now called the Mediator, a bridge between two worlds. Her hair had silver strands from the light of Borealis, and her eyes carried the same calm blue glow as her old friend, the wolf who had once bowed before her. Every year, under the twin suns, the people of both races gathered in the Great Valley to tell one story, the story of how kindness saved a world. That morning, children sat around a great fire made of blue stones. Some were human, some were half-wolf hybrids, strong, graceful, and full of curiosity. They waited for Lyra to speak. She held a small crystal pendant around her neck, the thorn now smooth and shining. When the light touched it, it scattered blue sparkles across the crowd. Long ago, she began, her voice soft but powerful. We feared each other. The wolves saw humans as intruders. The humans saw them as monsters. And yet it took only one moment, one act to change everything. The children listened closely. Even the wolves behind them lowered their heads respectfully. There was a small girl, Lyra continued, smiling faintly, who saw pain where others saw danger. She did not think about fear or rules or what others would say. She only wanted to help, and by removing one thorn, she removed the hatred between two worlds. A tiny human boy raised his hand. "Teacher Lyra, is that girl you?" Lyra chuckled softly. "Perhaps, or maybe she is anyone who chooses compassion over fear." Behind her, the old silver wolf appeared, its fur now white with age, its eyes softer but still bright. It walked slowly to her side and sat down, towering over her like a guardian spirit. Lyra placed a hand on its muzzle. "And this," she said, "is my oldest friend. The forest once called him a predator. Now it calls him protector." The wolf looked at the children and released a gentle, echoing hum. It wasn't a growl, and it was music, deep and warm. The young ones giggled and clapped their hands. Then Lyra stood, her gaze lifting to the twin suns climbing the sky. "Remember," she said, "the universe is wide and filled with countless lives. Not all will look like you. Not all will speak your words, but every creature, no matter how strange or terrifying, feels pain and understands kindness." A silence followed, peaceful and full of thought. After the gathering ended, Lyra walked to the edge of the forest, where the blue leaves shimmered. The wolf walked beside her. "It is time," it said in her mind. "My journey is ending." Tears filled her eyes. "You can't leave me. Not yet." The wolf looked at her with love deeper than words. "I am not leaving. I will rest beneath the roots, and when the wind passes through the trees, you will hear my voice again." Lyra knelt and pressed her forehead against its snout, the same way she had years ago when she first saved it. The thorn around her neck glowed bright, releasing soft waves of blue light that spread through the trees. When the light faded, the wolf was gone. Only paw prints of blue fire remained, leading into the forest. Lyra smiled through her tears. "Goodbye, my friend. You taught me more than any book ever could." She stood quietly, feeling the wind touch her hair. The forest whispered. The same voice that once threatened her long ago now spoke gently. The child healed the beast, and the beast healed the world. From that day on, every explorer who came to Borealis heard the same story. A world once divided by fear was united by the courage of a child. They called it the legend of the thorn and the child. And carved in stone at the center of the valley under the twin suns stood the final words of Lyra, words that would travel across galaxies and generations. Humanity is not our shape or our power. It is the choice to help when no one else will. As the sun set, the wind carried her words far into the glowing forest, where somewhere, beyond time, a silver wolf's howl answered her one last time. Moral reflection. Even in the farthest worlds, kindness speaks a language all beings understand. A single act of compassion can turn fear into friendship, and strangers into protectors.